evening. I'd like to call Millis Town Meeting to order. My name is Bruce Canareggi. I am your town moderator. Thank you for the support. At this time, I declare the warrant has been duly posted and published, and that the reading of the warrant is waived. Okay, welcome. First thing I always like to do is welcome all our veterans that are here. So if you're a veteran, please raise your hand. We're going to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, there's two. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you once again for attending. I'd like to recognize one of our state officials here, State Rep James Arena DeRocha. As I've said, I've been doing this is my 8th town meeting. And Representative DeRocha is always attended. I appreciate that. Our Select Board Chairperson, Ellen Rosenfield. Vice Chair, Aaron Underhill. And Craig Scholes. I'd like to recognize Town Administrator Mike Jasinski. Does a great job in town. I speak with him often, and Town of Millis is fortunate to have him. Our Finance Director, Jody Kurzay. Acting Town Clerk, Kathy Smith. Town Council behind me is Steve Chapman. We haven't worked together before, but he'll learn, and I ask a lot of questions. I'm not afraid to. Our Finance Committee, led by Chairman Jonathan Lohr, Vice Chair Mike Crone, Clerk Peter Underhill, Joyce Moriarty, Jody Gazzone, Peter Berube, Kathy McGinnis, Sarah Reyes, and Jen Rusky. And special thank you to Susan Vera and all the tellers that are assisting out front that greet you on the way in here. They do a great job. I always like to recognize the Millis Police, Millis Fire, and Public Works as first responders. They're doing a great job. Okay, down to business. There are a couple items on the warrant that require a 2/3 majority. Normally, I would have a standing count such votes, but with the absence of this body, I can be authorized to declare an obvious 2/3 majority by voice. So I would like to, if you assent to allow me this authority, please say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you. Motion carries. General rules for the meeting. This is governed by town meeting time and local bylaws. I will explain procedures as needed and will recognize requests for points of order. The first motion for each article is generally be made by the Finance Committee member. Those who make the motions usually have the first opportunity to explain their motion. All comments and questions shall come through me, the moderator. Please step up to the mic and provide your name and address. You need to go to the mic, A, so everybody else can hear you, and it's also being recorded for home. Additionally, as that said, my hearing is off as I was at the AC/DC concert last night, so I really need the mic. Thank you. Motions and to amend generally must be written, provided to me for review corrections. I will accept friendly amendments, and we will help with the procedures that we've done in the past. I will try to balance discussion as well as I can. Everyone will have a chance to speak on a matter, but at a certain point, I want to avoid repetitions, and I would ask that you do the same. Basically, what I'm saying, if on a particular topic, the thing's been brought up the same reason, we don't need to keep saying it, okay? Thank you. Everyone, let's see. There will be a max of 5 minutes at the mic. 5 minutes is a long time, so, but that's kind of like my general rule of thumb. If allowed, I can give you a second time at the mic, but that would probably be around 2 minutes. I may allow someone with new info to speak a third time, but by bylaw, I may limit I can limit to 2 by the bylaws in town. There's some excellent topics tonight on the warrant. We hope to have a spirited debate, and just remember, these are your friends and neighbors out here. You might not agree on certain things, but I ask you to be respectful. Okay? And, it might not be your opinion, but you need to value other people's opinion. And me personally, I totally encourage people to come up and speak. I know it can be a difficult thing, but have your voice heard. Thank you. I want to hear the facts and your opinions. What I don't want to hear is what you think someone else is thinking, okay? Comments should not be personal and directed at any individual. In other words, be kind to your neighbor, even if you might not agree with the topic at hand. We have many local officials between us, me and them. We got specific questions. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer them if we can. I will ask for a vote. When I ask for a voice vote, no shouting. Being louder doesn't count more. It just makes you look silly. If I cannot discern between the result, I may ask for a show of hands. If I cannot still figure it out, then I will have a standing counted vote. I respect the call of all questions or motions to be cut off by debate. With that said, anyone who's lined up at the mic at the time may be allowed to speak. But understand, if I think someone calling a motion too early, I will reject it. Similarly, if I'm hearing a lot of the same comments, I may abbreviate the debate on my own accord and call for a vote. Just so you know, I will not be taking, as always, articles out of order. They're established in our book. They were approved by the selectmen, reviewed by the FinCom, so they're going to stay in there. I'm not going to pull one early or later. I hope to have a expedient, quick meeting tonight. So I know a couple of folks want to go see the Celtics, as was brought up to me. So, and then finally, next Tuesday we're having a special election, May 12th. Please show up. Monday. Monday?
Monday.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm already getting corrected. I'm okay with that. Yes, next Monday, but please show up for that. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
my name is John Lauren. I am the current chair of the Millis Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is composed of 9 members, and as the moderator just announced, all 9 members are here off to my left. The Finance Committee members serve 3-year rotating terms. Every year, a few positions become available, and the town moderator appoints a resident for the next 3-year term. If you are looking to get involved with the Finance Committee, please stop by Town Hall or send us an email. Over the last few months, basically from January through May, the Finance Committee has had meetings almost every Wednesday. Throughout these meetings, most of the departments have presented their existing budgets, their fiscal year 2026 budget projections, their highlights and accomplishments from fiscal year 2025, and their future needs for fiscal year 2026. The Finance Committee has a unique opportunity to listen to each department head, and before we get onto the warrant, I'd like to take a moment and recognize someone who has made a dramatic impact to our town. That person is Anne-Marie Gagnon. Bear with me here. Since joining the Millis Council on Aging in August of 2023, Anne-Marie has sparked a powerful transformation in our community. Defined by energy, inclusion, collaboration, and care, with over 20 years of experience in leading senior centers, Anne-Marie brings not only professional expertise, but a genuine passion for purposeful aging. Her mission is clear: to empower older adults to age with dignity, stay connected, and thrive through meaningful programs and services. Anne-Marie immediately opened the doors, literally and figuratively. She extended the Council on Aging hours, welcomed guests from neighboring towns, and invited other Millis boards to the table, creating a true spirit of partnership. Her warm leadership has cultivated a vibrant, welcoming atmosphere where all seniors feel seen, heard, and valued. Under her guidance, the Millis Senior Center now offers daily fitness classes like Dance Fusion, Qigong, a fully equipped fitness room, and a thriving schedule of games including Mahjong, Canasta, and Bridge. She brought life to creative programs like the Bears Project, where over 700 handmade teddy bears have been donated to children and elders in need. and she consistently follows the calendar with exciting trips and destinations across New England. Anne Marie's vision has also revitalized the center's physical space. She oversaw the painting and reconfiguration of the building space, creating additional rooms for crafts and activities, administrative appointments, and a new library lounge. Attendance has soared from 65 to over 100 daily visitors, and she continuously collecting and analyzing the data to ensure every change truly benefits the community. Her leadership extends to modernized communication as well. The redesigned Council on Aging newsletter is now easier to read, self-sustaining through ad revenue, and more informative than ever. If you have not seen the April newsletter, it can be found on the Council on Aging webpage on the Millis website. A new transportation vehicle was secured, increasing access for vital appointments. This past year, there were 1,148 total rides. This spring, Anne Marie is spearheading a townwide survey in collaboration with UMass Boston to better understand the needs of our aging population, proof of her forward-thinking approach and her openness to feedback and improvement. If you are over the age of 60, please keep an eye out for the survey in the mail. What makes Anne Marie truly exceptional is her warmth and unwavering optimism. She listens, she acts, she inspires. Her dedication to collaboration, whether across town departments or with neighboring communities like Medway, has redefined what it means to serve our seniors. The Millis Council on Aging is thriving because of Anne Marie. If you haven't had the pleasure of meeting her, stop by the Senior Center downstairs at the Town Hall. You'll be greeted with a smile, inspired by her energy, and reminded of the power of community and care. Thank you, Anne Marie, for all you have done.
Woohoo, Minnie.
Okay. Moving on, I want to thank the Select Board, School Committee, and Town Administrators who have provided financial details and municipal guidance throughout the entire process. We will be voting on 21 articles tonight. Our goal as Finance Committee is to review the town's budget, understand the needs of each department, recommend and vote on each article as a committee, and present each article at town meeting, and then have the residents vote on each article. So with that said, let's review the articles and start with Article 1, Peter Underhill.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $15,396.63 to pay the following unpaid bills incurred by town departments from the previous fiscal years. The Building Department, $4,920. Recreation Department, $314. Select Board, $545.18. Fire Department, $9,617.45 for the above-mentioned total of $15,396.63.
A motion's been made. Any discussion?
Second.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
these invoices and bills have hit after we passed our previous fiscal year budget and our overages that need to be paid. This is a simple placeholder item in the warrant to pay unpaid bills.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this? This vote requires a 4/5 majority vote. All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to dismiss Article 2.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator, this article is again a placeholder put in place by the Select Board to pay for any overages or salaries not covered under previous budgets. It is not necessary for this fiscal year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All's in favor of dismissal, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
for Article 3, I move that the town vote to fix the compensation of elected officers, provide for a reserve fund, and to raise and appropriate, including appropriations from taxation and by transfer from available funds, all as specified below, the sum of $47,269,970.30 to defray charges and expenses to the town, including debt and interest, and a reserve fund for the general fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, with the following revenue sources. Taxation, $45,219,942.01. Ambulance fund, $957,673.50. Perpetual care interest, $332. Sale of cemetery lots, $7,431.89. Cell tower revenue, $56,897. Bond premium release, $79,400.51. And marijuana impact fees, $182,909.51. And to authorize the following transfers. Sewer fund indirect cost to the general fund, $266,269.48. Water fund indirect cost to the general fund, $325,440.47. Stormwater fund indirect cost to the general fund, $173,673.93. As noted in the book here, now submitted by the Select Board, 2/3 majority if stabilization funds are used. Since no stabilization funds are being used, this is a simple majority vote. Finance Committee recommends approval of this article 8-1.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
for Article 3, if approved, this article appropriates funding necessary to operate the town of Millis for fiscal year 2026, FY26. The town fiscal year runs through July 1st through June 30th. These are the town revenues and transfers that are calculated for each fiscal year for the town of Millis. The fiscal year 2026 budget is a 6% increase from the current fiscal year, FY25. Typically, the town budget has increased around 4% each year. Things are becoming more expensive. While inflation has come down over the past 2 years, cumulatively, it is costing more to run the town. Most of us see this with our own personal budgets, and it is no different at the town level. Between revenue of taxation, town growth, local receipts, the $47.2 million budget is balanced for fiscal year 26. Based on current numbers and looking forward to fiscal year 27, the town budget growth should come down to a more sustainable level. Within balancing the budget, there will be additional employees being added. One for the Department of Public Works, one for the Fire Department. There will be a new and improved organizational change, adding a Human Resource Department, which will be responsible for all human resource activities for the entire town, including the school. As the town changes over the years, the town's budget is adapting to those changes as best possible. The financial landscape will continue to change, but for fiscal year 2026, the town has a balanced budget.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
Kathy McInnes, 78 Island Road. I move to amend the budget that was just made by modifying 4 items under taxation as a revenue source as follows. Number 1, remove in its entirety the newly created line item entitled Human Resources in the amount of $189,500. Number 2, increase the police department line item entitled Salaries by $98,000 to the sum of $2,630,949.64 to fund 1 new police officer position. Number 3, increase the fire rescue department line item entitled Salaries by $79,000 to the sum of $2,601,073.50 to fund the new firefighter paramedic position. And finally, return the balance of $12,500 to the stabilization fund. Mr. Moderator, in the case of the police department personnel, the last increase in staff was 1 police officer in 2017. In 2018, there were 13,099 logged calls. By comparison, in 2024, there were 21,787 logged calls, a staggering 67% increase with no added personnel. In 2024, some of the...
Mr. Moderator. Second.
I'd like to let her finish. Please go on. So we get it.
In 2018,
Point of order.
Yes.
She's done giving her motion. She's now
No,
giving discussion. And it needs to be seconded before she can
I
go
understand.
through discussion.
Thank you.
I'm giving her seconds to.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Brewery's correct. Ms. McGinnis made a motion. I need a second on the motion, which Mr. Berube did. All those in favor of the motion to amend the budget, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? I'm doing a motion to add it.
We have to move the
What am I doing?
I'm doing it. Town council told me that she- Sorry about that. Maybe after I'm done with my comments, you can ask it if you
Yeah, I
repeat
do.
it. Because I'm
I'd like to
only-
apologize. There was a vote taken, but it was not clear anyways. So I am going to allow further discussion on the motion at this time, before calling a vote. Ms. McGinnis?
By me, okay? In 2024, some of the increase included 243 responses to the Anthology Senior Center Complex, 151 incidents to the Regency at Glen Ellen, and 372 service calls to Stony Brook. Sadly, some of these calls included mental health issues that required 2 or more officers. Let's not forget that there was a fair share of despondent individuals for search and rescue, which required several officers. Again, a whopping 67% increase in logged calls and no increase in staffing. And, Mr. Moderator, in the case of our fire and rescue department, the year 2018 was the last time there was an increase in personnel from taxation and not from the department's so-called ambulance revolving fund. This fund was set up at our 2017 town meeting to pay for future purchases of ambulance and fire engine needs without the necessity of an override. I'd like to mention that if you knew that $890,000 each year is used from the ambulance revolving fund to pay for our vital fire and rescue personnel. It is legal to do this, but what happens when we need multi-million-dollar equipment that fund is being used for, but is now earmarked to pay employees' salaries? Mr. Moderator, regarding this newly created human resources line item, we were informed of an incident in which a consultant's determination was required. Then a study was commissioned that recommended this new position of Human Resource Director and 2 so-called Human Resource Generalists. Remember a few years ago when the Select Board determined the police and fire rescue departments were so understaffed that for the safety of all of us residents, they proposed an override to fund additional positions. My, how times have changed. I ask all of you hardworking, tax-paying folks here tonight, what is more important to you, to your family, and to your neighbors? Appropriately staffed public safety departments who will be there in your time of need, or a brand-new human resources department created at the cost of $189,500 in order to correct the deficiencies of the existing human resources personnel. Please put off creating these new positions at least until police, fire rescue, and the just as important Department of Public Works are appropriately staffed. Finally, Mr. Moderator, we were told that the town, quote, is one step away from a lawsuit, quote, as the result of insufficient knowledge by our existing human resources staff. What is more important to you? A lawsuit from a spouse or someone else because of the death or disability resulting from inadequate public safety staffing, or a lawsuit from a disgruntled town employee because existing human resource personnel were not there to do the job. I urge everyone to please let our elected officials know what is important to us. Please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. Moderator?
Go ahead, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Is the mic on? Can you guys hear me? Okay. First off, I'd like to point out we're a $47 million, people say run the town like a business. We're a $47 million business with 400 unionized employees and no full-time HR staff. I couldn't run a business like that. That's a horrible way to run a business. We're advocating, and I'm speaking in favor of, against the motion to amend and in favor of the budget as it is, by the way. We see this as a way to add savings to the town. With no dedicated full-time HR department, we can't investigate health insurance savings. And health insurance has grown by almost 11% this year. And we just don't have the resources to investigate and move and work on that. We think there's savings to be had there. And the ambulance fund, just to put that aside, we've done projections out. We should have and will have, we believe, enough to buy a new ambulance when it's time. That's a misnomer that we need to worry about that at this point. Even with the positions we're adding, we believe there still will be enough to get an ambulance when the time comes due. Also, the way the revenue is allocated, we've had a very formalized process that when revenue comes in, we allow both departments, the school and municipal, to grow by about the same amount, 6% this year. So if this were to pass, that $189,000 really should be split about 1/3 to the municipal and 2/3 to the town. This was done with a joint agreement between the school committee and the, municipal and the school. Thank you for the correction, municipal and the school. This was done as an agreement between the school committee and the select board because we saw the need for this position. As Kathy said, we've been lucky with our HR department. I'll leave it at that. We've had issues that we really would have benefited having a full-time HR staff. And again, a $47 million company with 400 unionized employees and a part-time HR department is not going to cut it going forward. So I speak against the motion to amend.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Is this on? Marsha Collins, 12 Cole Ave, Millis. Was my understanding that 2 or 3 years ago, we upgraded a position in the general government to make it an assistant, assistant town administrator / human resource manager. So that was an upgrade. Is that correct?
Anyone like to speak on that?
I can,
Ms.
yes,
Rosenfeld?
but I'll comment a little bit more when you're done, Marcia. Yes,
Okay.
yes, that was correct.
So,
That is correct.
I mean, 190,000 we could really use in the town or put aside. Couldn't we just give an assistant, one assistant to that for human resource issues?
So a year ago, or so ago, we added 10 hours to the assistant town administrator position. 10 hours to cover 400 employees. There's a study that came out a little bit ago that talks about a human capital benchmark report came out that for every 100 people in a business or a town, there should be 1.7 human resources devoted to that. That takes us to 6.8. We have 10 hours of a 40-hour, that's what, 4%? This is, human resources is more than just saying hi to the person that comes in. It is a full-time, more than full-time job to take care of all of the duties that human resources covers. So we're talking about, what are we talking about? Hold on, I gotta find my notes here. There are compliance and regulations, 170 plus federal and state laws that a human resources person needs to be familiar with relating to employment, benefits, and labor relations. Unions, collective bargaining agreements, and labor disputes. Strategic planning, aligning personnel policies with the town's goals. Human resource person manages the life cycle of all employees. That is onboarding, performance reviews, conflict resolutions, personal procedures, collective bargaining, knowledge of Fair Labor Standards Act, Medical Family Leave Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, Workers' Comp, and special accommodations. In the schools, there's additional knowledge of district compliance with teacher and administrator licensure, relicensure, the Massachusetts Teachers Retirement Systems. I can go on and on. I have pages and pages. It is more than a full-time job to manage 150 workers in town hall, 250 in the school. The problems that can come to happen that were pointed out in a study that we commissioned, which was a bit ago, is some of the, where are my other notes?
You have 1 minute.
You got 1 minute? What are the things that can happen? Someone leaves and the payroll continues. How about that? Someone is hired without proper vetting. That has happened. Someone begins without being properly onboarded. That has happened. Someone goes on leave without proper validation. Improper hiring practices. Personnel files are not kept properly. It goes on and on and on. This is from a study that we had done with grant money. We need to address this now. It's to wait for a lawsuit that could catastrophize, could wipe out this town is not a good plan. The time is now, and the savings, I guarantee you, will pay for the police officers in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you. We all set?
Just one thing, a lot of those issues have been ongoing for so many years. But there's very few new issues that human resources don't have access to. So all along, they've been handling all these issues. I understand.
We've been handling them, Marcia, we've been handling them poorly. We're a minute away. It's not a good plan. I'm telling you, it is not a good plan to react to a lawsuit.
But does it need three more people?
It's not a good plan to wait. The plan is to prevent. You don't plan for a disaster for them to react to. We're trying to fix it.
Well, I just wanted to say
Okay.
how I felt about it. That's all.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thanks, Marcia.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Ms. Rod. Can you hear me? Carolyn McNiff, 31 Timberline Road. Just wanted some clarification on the numbers here. So Kathy went a little quickly. So I'm requesting if she could be permitted just to repeat the numbers. Also, I want a clarification on the 189. Now, is the 189 one position including all personnel costs, including their health care benefits, you know, because they're a full-time employee? What is the 189?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The 189 is made up of several positions. The first and primary is a human resource director. And that's estimated approximately $100,000 per year for a salary. The next is a benefits administrator, and that's for the municipal department. We already have someone that carries out a large part of that function, but this would upgrade that position slightly, and approximately only $6,000 to $8,000. And then there would be a brand new benefits coordinator at the school department, and we estimate that at approximately $60,000. And then in order to make up for the loss of administrative staff in the select board office because of having the in-house person currently fully switch over to benefits administration, We have a position, approximately $20,000 for just part-time administrative assistance. And that would include, there would be basically 2 new benefited positions total within the department.
So it's sounding to me like you're just talking salaries here.
Yes. that's
So you
correct.
haven't included the additional costs of benefits?
We
Their
don't- we
health
don't
care
generally-
insurance?
We don't generally include those within the individual budget line items. So those would be within the benefit line item within the overall budget.
Okay, so we're talking about a reallocation of tax revenue money that we have of the 189 to police, fire, and the other things, Kathy, and you're going to clarify. Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moderator?
Yes, Mr.
Could I elaborate a little further on that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I just wanted to reiterate a little bit what Selectman Schultz had said in regards to the municipal school revenue sharing. So essentially, we have a long-standing agreement with the school department that essentially there's a certain percentage of an increase within each. So I think it would be the policy of both the school committee and the select board that if this was eliminated, those funds would either just go back into stabilization or free cash, or they would be split approximately 1/3 for the municipal departments and 2/3 for the school. But I do want to touch upon a little bit the financial aspect of this, which, again, the select board chair mentioned. We expect this change to actually pay for itself many times over. With this change, we'd be able to have more cost-effective health insurance options for the town, because we'd have people that would have much more time to commit to researching our town's health insurance options, to look at the proper planning for full-time versus part-time staffing models within the town and school departments, to try to reduce the number of benefited employees within those departments. We would research and initiate programs aimed at reducing the use of the town's health insurance through health insurance opt-out programs and other incentives to try to take our employees off of health insurance and put them on their spouse's health insurance, which would save the taxpayers here a considerable amount of money. And we'd also be looking to initiate wellness programs for the employees, which would improve their health, productivity, and would reduce the amount of sick leave that those employees would take. And so essentially, with those additional tasks, we expect that the current cost of this addition, which is probably with the benefits in the low 200s, that would save upwards of $500,000 to $1 million within a couple years for the town. So this is something that would pay for itself in a fairly short amount of time. Ultimately, it's the decision of the voters. We think it's, the board and I have discussed it, and we've reviewed the detailed report, and we feel that this is by far the best approach for the town. And I would also note that few, if any, towns around here operate without a human resource department.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, if I can just, in conclusion, please, many
Do
of this,
do you have new information to provide?
well, I just would like to, you were allowing rebuttals.
Do you have new
And I would
information?
just like to state that everything that Mr. Kaczynski, the town administrator, has stated in cost savings has been requested by me for several years. And also, I would just like to mention, what do you want more, public safety or human resource director? Thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just to make one point clear on this, it's not a one or the other situation. We have a police and a fire, public safety department staffed the way we believe they need to be staffed. If more money is put in there, the select board is not compelled to do that. We'd consider doing it, but it's not compelling us to do it. We are working on strategies around this for the whole town, and we saw this as the most important item for the school, the police, the fire, the municipal in general. An HR department for the entire town was the most critical item to move this town forward. Believe me, I'd love to put, using the typical split, 125,000 more in the school and 60,000 more back in municipal. But we saw this as far more important, as did the school committee. So that's why we jointly agreed that this was the most critical issue the town is facing now. A $47 million budget, 400 employees, nobody focused on HR.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Lauren Barnes from Curve Street. Over the past couple of years, as Mrs. Collins mentioned, we did a realignment and we tried to redistribute human resources functions, and we added both tasks and salaries to do that. So the question that I could not answer myself in reviewing both the town, re-reviewing the town clerk staffing consulting report from several years ago, as well as the more recent and posted on the website human resources evaluation, is I couldn't identify where all the human resources functions were that we have moved elsewhere, if they are coming back into these new positions, and if, you know, the money that was assigned also moves. I think people would like to understand the top line of how this change works, because we're all very, very concerned about taxes. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
William McInnes, Island Road. I was just curious about the 150 town hall employees, if those were full-time employees, if those were part-time, or I'm just curious about that at the town hall, they said.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Just as a clarification, it's not town hall employees, it's municipal employees. And so that would include all the employees at the town hall, the employees at the police station, the fire, the DPW, and the other various positions we have within the town. I mean, I couldn't give you an exact number off the top of my head, but it encompasses all those folks.
So is that separate from the, or different from the 400 municipal employees in the town, or is that included?
Yeah, that was
the
within,
150?
when 400, that's basically municipal and school, and that also includes some part-time individuals.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I think the previous speaker had asked a question about reallocation. Really, the only reallocation that would happen would be the assistant town administrator's position. Right now, about 10 hours of their schedule is based on human resource work. That would be switched over to communications director, special projects, grants administration, and other needed operations within the town. One of the other things that hasn't been mentioned so far this evening is that the Office of Select Board and Town Administrator has not been able to operate at its potential, both strategically, from planning, from grant application, from overall oversight of the town, because that office is spread too thin. There isn't sufficient staff to do all of that, handle all of the human resource work effectively. So instead of doing certain sectors very well, we're basically treading water trying to do everything. And that's really the bottom line. And again, I would focus on the fact that I understand these are additional dollars that will be spent on this department. But again, just in the health insurance savings alone, by being able to focus on that area, we should be able to save 2 to 3 times the cost of this department in short order. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, hi, Barbara English, 18 Hattie Lane. I just am asking for clarification. I'm a fairly new resident. The budget for the school is about 45% of the total budget, which is true in almost any town. And budgets take a long time to put together. So what is the plan, or what is our understanding? We're voting on this number at some point of a 6% increase, but we know that there are large changes of
Ma'am,
from, yeah?
we're discussing the motion now, not the actual budget. You'll be able to bring that up after.
Okay.
This is a motion
Okay, thank
to
you.
modify. Thank you.
Brutus?
No. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Yes, ma'am.
Amy Fagan, 38 Timberline Road. Mr. Moderator, I have 2 questions, and one is, does the town utilize the service of an insurance broker to help facilitate the evaluation of various health plans and benefit plans? And are any of the town benefits, medical, STD, LTD, self-funded?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, the town is not self-funded. We do have health insurance through the GIC. The town was one of the first towns that joined that back in, I think, 2012, when towns were allowed to join that. And certainly, we don't currently use a broker, but certainly that would be That will be looked at as part of our review of health insurance in the Human Resource Department, is to see in what areas a broker may be of assistance to the town. So it's something we would look at.
Thank you.
Just one final comment.
Excuse me, to the moderator?
Oh, I'm sorry, Brutus, can I make one final
Yes.
comment? Still love you. One final comment. Somebody mentioned that the HR is being handled. It's been handled like this for many, many years. Yeah, there's a lot of things here that have been handled for many, many years. The worst thing I can hear in my life is when I say, why are you doing that? And they say, well, this is the way we do it. We've always been doing it this way, whether it be right or wrong. We've gotten away with a lot because, again, we do more with less than anybody I know. But we are operating 400 people, and we have in town hall, we have the town administrator, we have the assistant town administrator, we have a benefits coordinator. The only one that has any training at all in HR is the assistant town administrator, who tries to devote 10 hours to it in between changing light bulbs. In the school, we have a superintendent, we have an executive assistant, and we have a director of finance and HR. All of them share managing 250 people that come and go with all kinds of whatever's got every person has going on, none of whom have any training in HR. When I say that this is a disaster waiting to happen, I'm not kidding. I'm not an alarmist. But this is. We've been fortunate. I don't want to push our luck. This is the most important. Craig said it. We believe it. So please be deliberate on the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Ms. McGinnis, can I get a copy of your motion? Can I get a copy of your amendment to read? It's presented. Okay, this is amendment to change the motion, Article number 3. I move to amend the ballot that was just made by modifying 4 items under taxation, a revenue source, as follows. Remove its entirely newly created item entitled Human Resources in the amount of $189,500. 2, to increase the police department line item salaries by $98,000 to the sum of $2,630,449.64 to fund 1 new police officer position. 3, increase the fire rescue department line item entitled salaries by $79,000 to a sum of $2,601,073.50 to fund 1 new firefighter paramedic position. And finally, 4, return the balance of $12,500 to the stabilization fund. So if you want to change, say aye, and if you don't, no. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Motion carries. Fails. It doesn't carry. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the budget?
I'm just going to request a quick clarification. The budget as it stands now is put together over a long period of time. We know that there have been large changes to funding coming from the government. I don't think the state has been able to decide that yet. Is the number for what Millis gets in state aid, is that already figured in here? Would that number change, and then would that change what we're all being taxed for this year?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Schultz.
Yeah, we were very, very optimistic with the state aid number. We put in a 0% increase from the prior year. So, no, I think we're safe with state aid. It's not going up any. And even if it went down, it would not change your tax rate. The tax rate's totally separate. We get most of our money through taxation, and Jody can give us exact numbers, I'm sure, but most of our money through taxation, some of our money through local receipts, and some from the state. We assume that the state wouldn't go up any from the previous year.
And and none of those numbers include any federal money either.
Not directly.
So, okay, so what we're voting on is what we're getting.
What we believe we'll be getting, yes. And
Okay,
none of that is
thank you.
federal money. Federal money would come in the way of grants for projects possibly, but, or through the state, it might be transferred to us, but we don't see any of that right now.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Harden, 56 Walnut Street. I'm not sure how you're planning to have this vote, but I hope it's not a yes or up or down vote on 47 million. Could you break it down like general government, public safety, something like that, just in case people have a question or a comment about a particular part of it? It's very difficult for us in the audience to discuss
Do you
a
have
$47 million
Do you
budget.
have any particular
I do not.
question?
I'm
Okay.
asking you, are you going
We're
to?
having this, yeah, I got it. Thank you.
I hope you're going to have more than just an up and down vote.
Is there any further discussion on the budget, any particular line item in the budget that someone has a question on? Yes, sir.
John Fitzgerald, Plain Street. Does the budget contain any provisions for wage increases in excess of 3.5%, whether those be step increases or combined step increase and cost of living adjustments? If so, could you direct us to what that budget line item is so we can?
Mr. Jasinski? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Actually, the town just concluded negotiations with all 5 of its unions. So I believe in cases, most of the COLAs and all the contracts are 2.5%. But in addition to that, there are employees who also go up steps, an additional 2.5%. So I think you'd find in every department there are some individuals that are above the 3.5% threshold that you mentioned. So the short answer is yes.
So do the voters, Mr. Moderator, have an opportunity to reject giving workers more than 3.5%? Is that possible, or has the ratification of the collective bargaining agreements rendered our opinion moot?
Mr. Moderator?
Well, I'm not an expert on it, but
Mr. Moderator?
there's contracts in place that has to be, and we're voting on the total budget right now. So not line item, not individual contracts. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, the purview of approving collective bargaining agreements sits with the select board and the school committee for the teachers and everybody else for us. And we have approved those contracts. So if the budgets were reduced, it would not result in contractual changes to wages. It would reduce in staff reductions.
So is it the case then that there are 2.5% wage increase, cost of living plus 2.5% step increase for employees in this budget, so that the town is being asked to approve 5% wage increases to all of its employees? Is that correct?
Mr. Schultz.
Mr. Moderator, as our town manager, town administrator said, 2.5% COLA across the board for all of the municipal staff. I don't know what the teacher salary settled at. I don't know if it's settled. And then some staff, because of steps, get another 2.5%. Not every staff, but some staff. It depends on where they are in the step schedule.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the budget? Okay, we're going to take a vote. All those in favor of the budget as presented at, it's always a phone. Budget's presented at $47,269,970.30. Please say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Article 4?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, ma'am.
I move the town vote to raise and appropriate from sewer department receipts the following sums to operate the sewer enterprise fund beginning July 1, 2025, including a reserve fund, or take any other action in relation thereto. Salaries and wages, $292,425.12. Expenses, $1,410,076.48, for a total of $1,702,501.60. And Mr. Moderator, a simple majority is required.
Second. Motion made second for a discussion.
Mr. Moderator, the requested amount is needed to operate the sewer department for FY26.
Any further discussion on Article 4? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from water department receipts the following sums to operate the Water Enterprise Fund beginning July 1, 2025, including a reserve fund, or take any other action in relation thereto. Salaries and wages, $560,440.33. Expenses, $2,061,133.67, for a total of $2,621,574. And Mr. Moderator, a simple majority is required.
Second. Motion made second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, ma'am.
The requested amount is needed to operate the water department for fiscal year 2026.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on Article 5? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from Stormwater Department receipts the following sums to operate the Stormwater Enterprise Fund beginning July 1, 2025, including a reserve fund, or take any other action in relation thereto. Salaries and wages, $275,710.91. Expenses, $498,618, for a total of $774,328.91. Once again, Mr. Moderator, a simple majority is required.
Second. Thank you. Further discussion?
Mr. Moderator, the
Yes, ma'am.
requested amount is needed to operate the Stormwater Department for fiscal year 2026.
Thank you. All's in favor? Article 6, please say aye. Aye.
I had a question.
You do. Come up. I'm holding the vote.
It's just a question. It's not anything for or against this. But my question is on Article 6 and the similar ones that we went through before on the details of the warrant. It simply says to vote to raise and appropriate available funds, a sum of money. And then when we get here, we talk about a particular dollar amount. Is there a reason why the dollar amount was not put in the warrant?
Schultz?
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, the warrant is prepared weeks in advance. The final motion is the motion that is read, and I believe in some cases there is a dollar amount connected with it. In these, it should all be in the budget around back. I believe in all the articles we just talked about, in the warrant book that was mailed out to us, they all are all in the back of the book. The motion itself is just a placeholder motion. The motion that's read at town meeting is the one that is binding.
Thank you. Take the vote again. Is there any further discussion? All's in favor, Article 6, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Article 7?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to approve the items as written in the warrant in consent Article 7. This requires a simple majority.
Second.
Further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
The consent agenda is a list of routine, non-controversial items which are routine in nature and considered for a single vote versus voting on each individually with the intent of saving time. The items within the consent agenda tonight include amendments to the personnel plan. If approved, will come into effect on 1 July 2025, consistent with approval of the operating budget. Board of Health appointing authority is required annually to allow it to appoint any of the members to another town office or to position for which it has appointing authority. Voter approval of revolving fund accounts allows the various entities which self-generate revenue, typically through registration fees, for instance, to use those funds without additional appropriation up to the limits approved here. If approved, community preservation funds given to Millis from a portion of fees collected by Norfolk County deed registration proceeds are allocated to a reserve fund for future preservation projects and administrative costs. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of this article.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
John Fitzgerald, Plain Street. I've been rising to speak out against these combined wage increase packages. I did it at the last town meeting. I tried to impose a wage freeze, but the Finance Committee recommended against it. I just inquired about it with respect to the general budget. And now I would direct your attention to page 53 of the pamphlet here, and this explains why I have issues with the personnel adjustment. The first bullet point provides that these employees will get a 2.5% step increase, and then the second to last bullet point provides they'll also get a 2.5% cost of living adjustment. So that's a 5% raise, and most taxpayers in this room, I would speculate, are getting a 2.5% to 3% raise, not 5%. And so I oppose this 5%, and I rise to speak out against it.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Sir.
Scofusey, 411 Union. The town's been doing this for years. We want to keep people working in the community and in the town. They've been doing this for years. This is the way the town's been doing it. And don't change it. You know, we don't want to lose other people in the work for the town to other towns, and that's happened, and we don't want to see that. So let's keep it the way it's been the way for years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Article 7. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $363,060.50 and transfer from the Water Enterprise Reserve Fund the sum of $24,707.50 and the transfer from the Sewer Enterprise Reserve Fund the sum of $24,707.50 and transfer from the Stormwater Enterprise Reserve Fund the sum of $24,707.50 for a total sum of $437,183 to fund the following capital items. The first one, animal control, $80,000 for a new animal control vehicle and equipment. Second one, DPW, 3,500 dump truck with plow and sander for $98,830. Fire department, UTV and trailer for $88,272. Fire department radio console, $75,081. Library, HVAC repairs and upgrades, $32,000. School, Section 7D van, $63,000 for a total of $437,183. And to authorize the Select Board to dispose of old vehicles or equipment by outright sale, trade, auction, and otherwise, and that the proceeds from such disposal be applied to the purchase price of the vehicle or equipment. Submitted by the Select Board, simple majority. The Finance Committee recommends approval of this Article 9-0.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Second. All further discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
For Article 8, if approved, request the town to raise and appropriate the transfer from available funds $437,183 to fund 6 capital requests for multiple departments for fiscal year 2026. Each fiscal year, the Capital Planning Committee goes through a process to review and prioritize the capital requests from each department. This process helps the Select Board determine which capital items will be considered at each town meeting.
Thank you. Any discussion? All's in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Ma'am.
I move that the town vote to borrow under the provisions of MGL Chapter 44 or any other enabling authority the sum of $137,632 for the lease/purchases of 2 police cruisers. This was submitted by the Select Board, requires 2/3 majority, and the Finance Committee voted unanimously to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
this article authorizes the town to enter into a new 3-year lease to purchase agreement for 2 new replacement police cruisers in the amount of $137,632. The first-year cost of the lease is included in Article 3, the FY26 operating budget. The cruisers will be available for purchase for $1 after the completion of the 3rd year of the lease. The cost of the vehicle includes prisoner transport, containment, and lighting, the lettering, computer-aided dispatch software, records management system, CGIS, printer, radio, and other specialized equipment are purchased separately and are paid for by grants, which Chief Safoyer secures on behalf of the department for the replacement cruisers. The current wait time for the new cruisers are estimated between 4 and 8 months.
Thank you. Any further discussions on this? This is a 2/3 majority vote. All's in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yes, sir. Oh, 2/3 carried. Thank you. Motion 10?
Yeah, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $250,000 for the purpose of paying the Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical School debt obligation. This was submitted by the Select Board and requires a simple majority.
Second.
Motion made second for discussion.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, ma'am.
So there's been a change, different from what was circulated originally. The original amount proposed was $593,075. And the $343,075 change was removed because it was already built into the operating budget, Article 3, and was voted to be funded that way. So to revote the full amount again would have been sort of a double count. It would have included again in a special article another $343,075 on top of what was already budgeted. So this $250,000 is outside of the general operating budget, and that's why we have to handle it in this special article. And the reason we are doing this article from free cash is to pay for that debt obligation for the Tri-County School renovation without having a negative impact on the operating budget, and also would defer the need to raise those funds by some other means.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Simple majority vote. All's in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, ma'am.
Article 11. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $300,000 for unanticipated building repairs for all municipal and school buildings. This was also submitted by the Select Board and requires a simple majority.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Motion made second for discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, similarly to Article 10, this special vote allows the town to set up an emergency fund to pay for unanticipated issues within town buildings which might require an immediate repair without negatively impacting the operating budget or requiring to raise funds by some other means. These funds are not going to be used for any planned town building projects such as the middle school or high school renovation. This is for those things that come up unexpectedly.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Jim Angelo, 34 Lavender Street. If we don't have any unanticipated repairs needed, does the money come back to the general fund, and where does it get used?
Go ahead, Mr. Schultz.
This would establish, Mr. Moderator, this would establish a special fund that runs until the money runs out. So if it's not used this year, we can carry it over to next year or the year following. We had a glut of funds in free cash, $3.5 million of free cash this year, and this is a way to set some of that aside for unanticipated repairs over the next several years even.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
And there's a guarantee that it only gets used for repairs, not for any other school issues.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
This doesn't relate to the school directly at all. It could. I mean, if the boiler fails at the school, this money could be used. But it's for something unanticipated. It does not, I don't know why school is referenced in it, but.
What I'm asking is if they have $300,000 at the end of the year and they need a teacher.
No. Well, first
no,
off, it's
no.
not, Mr. Moderator, it is not for the schools. This is for everything. It's not for police, it's not for fire, it's for a building. So if the police need a boiler, yeah. If the school needs a boiler, sure. A new freezer, that works. But anything that's anticipated, we have the boiler with the Capital Planning Committee on a scheduled replacement plan. We have vans on a scheduled replacement plan, but we have an aging HVAC system, which is not on a scheduled replacement plan yet. It's a few years out still. But if it were to fail, we would need to replace that. So that's what this money is set aside for. Just for buildings.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote not to approve Article 12. Would you,
Motion made second.
would you like me to read the article as written, or we can just say as written, Mr. Moderator? Would you like me to read the entire Article 12, or can we say as written?
As presented, we don't need to read it.
As written, okay. With your patience, Mr. Moderator, the chair of the Finance Committee has asked me to read the majority and the minority opinions on this, as this was a contentious issue. I will start with the majority report. Every member of the Finance Committee agrees that there is a vulnerable portion of the senior community here in Millis that needs financial assistance in regard to their tax burden. But the majority of the Finance Committee agrees that this article is not the way to do it. Exempting a portion of the community from paying taxes on a specific line item in the town's budget sets a dangerous precedent, no matter how many requirements are put in place as safeguards. It will lead to others petitioning the town for their taxes to not go towards specific town services that they do not use or do not personally approve of. We already control what our taxes specifically pay for by electing our select board, who then put together the budget for town meeting. And again, at town meeting tonight, when we vote on annual town budget like we just did for Article 3. The budget is discussed exhaustively at several select board meetings, as well as multiple finance committee meetings, where we seek and value public input and questions on how your money is spent. Our money is spent. Also, another consideration is the long-term financial impact of this article, because it's unknown. There's no limit to the number of seniors who may end up qualifying for this exemption, and no controls to correct any issues that arise from any unforeseen budget impacts that come from passing this article. Members of the Finance Committee who recommended dismissal of this article believe if the Select Board instead presented an article similar to the existing senior tax exemption program with additional breaks for the struggling senior population, rather than the specific exemption for future school building projects, this article would gain wider support. Mr. Moderator, I will now read verbatim the minority report as written by who was chosen.
Thank you.
4 of the Finance Committee members voted in favor of this article. The reasoning centered on the benefit of the article to those elderly homeowners who meet the 6 requirements, including income, age, years as a homeowner in Millis, and Board of Assessors approval, and that such benefit outweighed the cost of the article to the other homeowners of the town, which was estimated to average approximately $50 to $75 a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this? Okay, this is simple majority. I want to.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to go over a little bit about I speak against the motion to dismiss. So I'm going to ask you to vote no to vote. Do not vote yes to dismiss. I hate these double negatives. So I'm going to ask you not to vote yes on this motion to dismiss. This was put on by the Select Board because there is a very vulnerable portion of our population. Those are the people that qualify for the senior circuit breaker and have lived in town for more than 10 years and have very, very, very low net worth. This is all spelled out in the article. But first off, the senior circuit breaker, right now we have about 225 people that would qualify for a senior circuit breaker in our entire town. Of those 225, they have to be a homeowner and they have to live here for more than 10 years. We estimate that comes to about 100 people. So it's about 100 people. We believe that this would exempt those homeowners who are seniors who qualify for the circuit breaker, who've lived there for 10 years, and the other requirements, from paying for any override related to school construction and only school construction. We've modeled this off of a neighboring town. The neighboring town, the state is not giving these out willy-nilly. This isn't a slippery slope where it's going to start with seniors and end with those who live on Acorn Street. This is going to be seniors who are very, very low income, exempting them from this tax to allow them to continue living here. We've heard a lot. We're driving the seniors out. The Select Board's making an effort to keep them in town. So I'm going to urge you to vote no on the article to dismiss. Did I get that right, Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to correct the record. It is not, a motion has not been made to dismiss this. The motion that is on the table is a vote not to approve. To be clear, if it is not the same thing. We've discussed this at length. It is not the same thing. The Finance Committee voted on this twice, and the vote right now is to, if you vote yes, you are voting not to approve. There is a double negative, whether you like it or not, in the motion that was made. A vote for yes means that you are against the article. If you support the tax credit or the subsidy that has been described, then you will vote no on this article.
Mr. Moderator?
Shannon Graham, 8 Himmelfarb. Question. If we give these seniors exemption from the school building project that hasn't been approved yet, can they still vote?
Mr. Moderator? Yeah, this does not disenfranchise anybody from voting on it. That would, yeah. And the other piece is, Mr. Moderator, it seems like this is very reminiscent of the senior center article where it wasn't a motion to dismiss and it wasn't a motion to approve. And it turned into, well, my colorful colleague has a word for it. But I think the Finance Committee is supposed to recommend dismissal or approval, not referral or, what's the new one? Not approve. I think that, I mean, I was on the Finance Committee for 20 plus years and it was always approve or dismiss. So I'm not sure what the difference is. I guess if you would like to consider voting on this article next, then you need to vote no on the motion in front of us. Are we all in agreement on that? Correct. Yeah, okay.
Mr.
Any
Moderator?
further discussion?
Mr.
Yes,
Moderator?
sir.
Can we get to the,
I need
can
your
we
name
get,
and address.
Mark Conroy, 12 Rosenfeld Road. Can we get explicit clarity on what happens if people vote yes on the motion presented by the Finance Committee?
Yes, that was part of the plan once we got through this.
The article is dead.
Then if what the Finance Committee member just said is, if people vote yes, the article is dead, it's the same as dismissing the article.
Correct, that's the way it's explained.
That's correct.
Okay. So if you vote yes to this motion, the article.
A yes is a no.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In simple
Mi-
terms. Yes, sir.
Edward Ginn, 24 Glen Ellen Boulevard. I don't think I'm dumb, but I'm dumb right now because I don't know how a simple thing can be so complicated. I don't understand. Is there a motion to approve the article, or is there a motion to dismiss the article, and what are we doing?
There's a motion not to approve. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I basically had the same question as that gentleman. So can we please clarify if a motion has been made to dismiss this article, or if there's a motion just to vote yes or no on the article as written? And I would appreciate town council's opinion on this. Sorry, John Barry, 6 Paddock Lane.
The motion not to approve is the functional equivalent of a motion to dismiss, and sometimes that's called a motion to postpone indefinitely. So if you vote yes, the warrant article will fail. If you vote no, then a further motion could be made.
Yes.
Okay, so if you vote, just to say, if you vote yes, then this motion goes away. We can't then come and say, okay, and put it to the people. So if you vote no, then there's no way to know how you would have voted on the article, correct?
Yes, if they vote yes, there's no way. If you vote yes.
Yes, but I'm sorry. If you vote, my point is, I would like you to vote no.
No on the dismissal.
So,
If you vote no on the dismissal, then the original motion comes in front of you, and then you can vote whether or not you would like to carve out a little piece for our seniors. Am I not correct?
You're correct.
I am correct. If you vote no on this motion to dismiss, I know they don't like to call it motion to dismiss, but it's a motion to dismiss. Let's clarify it. It's a motion to dismiss. It takes the right away from you to vote it. You're just dismissing it right now. So you're actually voting it. So, but let me just say this. Some of the numbers that were put out here to say that it's a 50 or 75 burden on the rest of us, that's not true. Nobody knows what that is. We've been kicking around numbers of anywhere between $20 and $30. So to say it's 50, 75, this was an attempt by this board to keep people that have lived their whole lives in this town, that are on limited income and want to stay here. They don't want to leave. They love it. We all love it. That was the intent. And there are a lot of parameters and hoops you have to go through. And you can't have a home greater value than this. You can't have IRAs tucked away where you're a billionaire. You can't have 3 homes, one on the Cape and one here and one here. There's a lot to go through.
1 minute.
You need to renew it every year. You need to be approved on the circuit break. It's not easy. It's not a lot of people. And we just thought that it was an attempt to at least not have the school reno push them out of town. That's all.
Mr. Moderator? Ma'am?
Mr. Moderator, Nicole Riley, Village Street. Is it possible for the Finance Committee to withdraw their motion and restate a motion in the positive and make a recommendation whether or not to approve that article, so that because we've heard yes means this or yes means that. Can we simply have an affirmative motion that says a vote yes will pass the article and a vote no will not pass the article, and it is the Finance Committee's recommendation? Is that possible?
Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator?
Could we ask Town Council to answer the following question? If this motion does not pass by a no vote, then can a motion be made to move the article in the affirmative to pass this warrant article as written?
He's nodding his head, but you can't hear him.
The answer to the question is yes. If the vote on the motion is no, in other words, if the motion doesn't pass, there can be a subsequent affirmative motion to pass the article. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
I'm Kenji DeBold. I live at 3 Helen Lane. I moved from California. So I just feel like if there's some seniors that are hurt, I'm a senior, I'm 65, I love a tax break, but if there's some seniors that are really on the level of, and you have to qualify for it, then, you know, I don't have much of a problem for giving somebody that is really on the edge, you know, of living and existing, to give them a little tax break.
Thank you.
I think we're just, you know, the federal government, the whole nightmare.
We're not getting into that tonight.
I'm
doing this.
I just say, you know, if there's people on the living on the edge, then, you know, throw them a bone, man.
And welcome to Millis. Yes, ma'am.
Christine McCaffrey, 21 Jameson Drive, former member of the Council on Aging and former member of the Senior Center Building Committee. We went through the same sort of difficulty in understanding how to vote for the Senior Center new building with the Finance Committee. They made it so confusing. To me, you're making it the same confusing issue today. These are our seniors, and it seems that every way we can, we try to do nothing for the seniors by making votes that no one can understand. Could you please, Mr. Moderator, say what happens directly. What happens if the town votes yes? And what happens if the town votes no? There has to be a simple answer to that. There can't be a convoluted answer. That's not the way we work.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Lohr is going to attempt to.
Let me take a stab at this here. So this is confusing 100%, and the reason why it's confusing is because we had 5 against for 4 votes for it, to approve it. So hang on. So because of that, that was a recommendation of not to recommend it, okay? To all the discussion we're having about not recommending versus dismissal, we've talked about that as a Finance Committee for an hour 3 weeks ago, an hour today, and probably an hour in between. So if you vote yes on this, because it's a double negative, that means that there will be no senior tax exemptions for any school projects going forward, okay? If you vote no, that means seniors who qualify will get the tax exemption.
No. Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator? Say again?
You'd have to take a...
Okay.
Mr. Moderator?
I tried.
Hey.
Mr. Moderator?
Folks,
Mr. Moderator?
this is small town government. This is what we've been doing for 350 years, okay? That's why we got to work through it.
Yeah.
He is correct. If a yes would make it go away, a no, it could be brought up again to be voted on.
True. Yes.
That's correct. I'm correct. He said it.
You got it.
Ma'am.
Stop now.
And I'm sorry for the confusion. I get confused on it too.
I know. I just, as I said, the seniors need a break. Could you just, Mr. Moderator, you just said that, and then he said something before, and someone else said something before. Could you please just say exactly what's going to happen with the votes?
When I call for a vote, if you vote yes, it goes away. It doesn't happen. If you vote no, it could be brought up again to be voted on. Doesn't have to be, but it could be.
Mr. Moderator, move the question.
Mr. Moderator, if we vote no, it can be brought up again. When can it be brought up again?
Tonight.
It could be brought up tonight. Will it be
Immediately after.
done directly after the vote is taken?
Yes.
someone will stand up and make a motion for a new
Mr.
article.
Moderator, the question has been moved.
I haven't recognized you. I'm listening to her. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to add?
So is that what will happen?
It could.
Okay.
I didn't say it would.
All right.
You asked about
I
possibilities.
would like an answer.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I just had a question before a vote is taken on this motion not to consider the warrant article, and that is whether this has passed legal scrutiny to give this tax break to seniors, or whether there was any type of equal protection challenge we all might have been worried about.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes, sir.
This is patterned after a special act that was one of our, James Rendrosa put in for a neighboring town. We copied it exactly, and it was approved for that purpose. So we copied almost verbatim what they put in. I think we changed the name of the town to Millis.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Assuming that, I want to say it slow, there is a no vote on this, I'm not going to stand up, but I will certainly make a motion immediately afterwards for an affirmative vote.
Oh, there is clapping. I just clapped.
No clapping.
Basically what they're saying, oh, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, ma'am.
Joyce Boyard, ooh! Joyce Boyardi, 206 Orchard Street. All they're asking you to do is make a decision whether you want to approve their dismissal or not. If you don't want them to approve the dismissal, then we can discuss it. Somebody can bring it up and discuss whether we do or don't want to offer the tax break. I am, thank you. Excuse me?
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I move the question.
We can't get to the second part until,
The
you
motion
can't
has
get
been
to the
made.
second part.
Excuse me, ma'am. A motion made and second to move to 2/3 majority vote. All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. All's opposed? No. 2/3.
No, that's not 2/3.
Good question.
The debate, I did not determine 2/3, so the debate continues.
Mr. Moderator?
Anybody else to discuss this?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion to approve Article 12 as written. Or is that not appropriate? I don't know where I'm lost, and I've been here for 32 years.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Just so we clarify.
Okay.
The last motion was to end the debate. It
Thank you. I
failed,
apologize.
So we're still talking about it. Just want to make sure everybody knows that.
Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator.
Just do the vote.
Yeah.
Mr. Moderator.
Yeah.
We're going to retake the vote to end the discussion to vote on the motion. It requires a 2/3 majority vote to end the debate. That's all we're doing is we're ending debate, then we're going to vote again on the motion. All those in favor of ending in debate, please say aye. Aye. All those in favor of continuing debating, please say no. All right. No.
All right, now it's a no.
All those in favor, please say no. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Debate's over. The motion, okay, we're now going to vote on that. Now remember, a yes means a no. It's going to go away. A no means it could be brought up again. Okay? All those in favor of dismissing, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No. Noes have it.
It's a simple majority. The noes have it.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we approve Article 12 as written.
A motion's been made and seconded. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All's opposed?
No.
No, there's a motion to go forward. All those in favor?
No, it's not. No.
I know. The motion to approve the article.
Mr. Moderator, my motion was to approve the article as written.
Okay.
Yes.
A motion's been made to adopt the article as written. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
For all the reasons I was opposed to dismissing this article, I'm in favor of approving the article. It's going to help about 100 seniors in the town. It's going to cost those of us that are not low-income seniors. It's getting to the point I can't even say those of us that aren't seniors. But those of us that aren't low-income seniors, it's going to cost us $25 to $35. There's a number in there per year if the school project goes forward. It only applies to school projects. There is no slippery slope. There is no other group that the state's considered this for, and we think it's a nice, important effort to try to preserve the longtime seniors of our town, to keep them in our town.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the way the motion was presented, please.
No, approving the article. Approving the article.
Article?
Approving the Article 12 as written.
All those in favor of approving the article as drafted, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
So majority carries. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to approve the changes to the Millis Home Charter as set forth in Article 13.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
this article, if approved, would authorize the town to amend the Millis Home Rule Charter to change the town clerk position from an elected position to one that would be appointed by the Millis Select Board. The petition would not in any other way change the role, powers, duties, liabilities, or penalties conferred and imposed by law on town clerks. Certain other towns in the Commonwealth have changed the town clerk position from elected to appointed position. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of Article 13. It is a majority vote.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this? Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Harden, 56 Walnut Street. For those that may not know me, I'm not the current town clerk, but I was the previous town clerk for 21 years and worked in the town clerk's office for 24 years. I've lived in Millis since 1970. I am speaking against passage of this article as it is currently written. There's nothing in, well, one of the arguments for it is that half the towns in Massachusetts have changed from elected to appointed. Town clerks were all elected originally, and some of the towns are going toward appointed. However, 100% of those were elected, full-time, salaried positions. The Millis current town clerk position is not full-time, not salaried, no hours, very low pay. So there's nothing in the way this is written currently that would hold the selectmen to actually appoint a full-time salaried town clerk. I'm not opposed to having a full-time salaried town clerk. I argued for it for 10 years. But there's nothing here that would make that happen. And I think it needs to be rewritten. And also, it doesn't have an effective date as to when the election would happen, that it sort of depends on. So I am opposed to the motion as written. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator? Go ahead.
Sir.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Jim McCaffrey, 21 Jameson Drive. I'd like to speak in favor of the motion to make the town clerk's position an appointed position. I think this is the right reform to town government today, and the proposal is to do it in the right way, which is that way is to follow the provisions of the charter to not only consider this, for the selectmen to consider it, then for the town meeting to consider it, and then for the voters to decide one way or the other. So I think it's the right move because it's time for us to move to, as indicated, a full-time town clerk position. What the charter amendment does is it removes the town clerk from an list of elected positions and puts it into the article which allows for the town administrator or the Board of Selectmen through the town administrator to make an appointment. This is an important department that needs to be professionally managed, and there's no guarantee going forward that if we retain this as an elected position, that we will have the right level of capability and qualifications to do the job. So I think it's important for us to move in that direction. It's been something I know that the board has been working on at least since 2019. I happen to know that since I was on the board at the time, and my failure does not mean that we shouldn't do it now. This is the only department head that is not full-time salaried and with qualifications. This is a department head like the DPW, like the police and fire, like the library director, like the Council on Aging. In fact, the Council on Aging, the rec department, are two departments that have a similar budget, but they are managed by a full-time manager. I think it's important for the town to make this change. I think, again, that it's the right thing to do. It's part of an evolution, and for those of you who weren't here in 1975, I think that includes me, but I just missed it. This article was part of the charter adopted in 1975. Over a 50-year period, we've been amending it to meet the new needs of the town and the new requirements of professional town management. So I think the time has come for us to make this change, and I urge everyone to vote in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Loring Barnes, Curve Street. I was on the select board with Mr. McCaffrey when the consultant's examination of how this department was staffed generated the report that has been on the website now since 2019. And I want to acknowledge that my former board colleague, who's, I think, a custodian of history and tradition, has identified what I see as also benefits to us. Those of us who've ever had to work anywhere have always had somebody to whom we report, and or we have expected our peers or people that reported to us to have a chain of command. And if something goes wrong, you have to be able to address it very, very quickly. And changing this to a professionalized direct report position and making it, it's not just appointed, that's the end game. It's conventionally hired. It's somebody goes through a rigorous screening process, and that's how an Anne Marie Gagnon arrives to our town. So I'm very excited to see this. I think this is the right step for our town. If anything, I think it's overdue, and we want our town management, I'm looking at Mr. Kaczynski as our town administrator, we want our town management and HR people to be able to make our employees effective and accountable for excellence, and this is the way to accomplish it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jim Angelo, 34 Lavender Street. I've only been voting for a short 47 years, and I voted for Arthur Thorne, George Ford, Roma Curran, Pat Sjogren, and Lisa Harden. And I think, as a townsperson, we voted for good people. I don't understand why the selectmen think that the town's vote doesn't count. And the other part that I don't understand is you're going to have a person who's on a contract, who's in charge of elections, who's in charge of nomination papers, who's in charge of the open meeting law, who has to answer to the selectmen and to the town administrator. And you should watch out, Brutus, because you'll be next.
They can have it.
All right? I think the town is taking the choice away from the people, and the people have made smart choices. And like I said, I've only been voting for a short 47 years, and I don't think the people should give up the power of the elections, and you can pay a town clerk and still have them elected. And for some reason, I think we've had unprofessional town clerks, or that we're gonna have better professional town clerks because the selectmen pick them, is absolutely absurd. I think the townspeople deserve to vote for this position, and we should protect our elections. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Edward Ginn again from Glen Ellen Boulevard. I'm sorry I'm speaking so much tonight. I respect those who are in favor of this article. I think they're in good faith. But my inner soul tells me a town clerk should be elected. A town clerk should not be responsible to anyone except the people, not to a particular board. I'm not impugning any board or any member of the board. I think everybody's in good faith in trying to do the right thing. But I don't want an elected official to not become an appointed. It's an important position. Thank you. I urge you vote no on this.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Pat Chokran, 642 Main Street. I'd like to speak in opposition. I feel I was here in 1975 when we adopted the charter, and at that time, there were a large number, a significant number of elected officials. And we have seen slowly over the course of years, by many very well-meaning people in the select board, finance committees, school committee, actually, I've been on 2 of those boards, have slowly made recommendations to eliminate these elected officials and make them appointed. We're now looking at what I consider one of the most significant positions in any community, the town clerk. The town clerk is responsible to the people. The town clerk is responsible to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. A significant amount, 90 to 95% of town clerk's duties are regulated by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This person needs to, we have built our country on a set of checks and balances which have been in contention recently and continue to be in contention, and maybe that's good. But this is a place that I don't think we need to, at this point, make this an appointed position. The town clerk is in charge of elections. There should be no one telling him or her what to do with that. No boss, so to speak, other than the people and the Commonwealth, the Secretary of State, and the Attorney General. And I hope that you will not vote at this time for this position change. So I speak in opposition.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kathy Smith, the interim town clerk, 28 McCabe Avenue. I understand that this is a complex issue. Over the past 5 years, the town clerk's office has evolved greatly. Many of the responsibilities, particularly those regarding elections and vitals and record keeping, are regulated by the Secretary of State, Attorney General. So there's very little that we have. We're regulated by all kinds of laws. One of the biggest advantages to moving it to appointed is increased accountability and availability. It's an ideal time to do it now because an elected town clerk doesn't have to show up. I could work nights and weekends. That person could work nights and weekends. We want to make it a professional position where you're there during regular business hours for the public and be able to meet with department heads, the Board of Selectmen, the town administrator, and do that. The town clerk's office follows the same ethics and standards that every other person in the town hall, school, and municipal government follows. So there's no way that anything could happen differently. I think it's now time to make it appointed. We've never had a full-time position. It's a full-time position, and I think if you're going to be paid a full-time salary, you should be you know, you should be there for the public. You should be accountable. You should be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, Sharon Locke, 27 Island Road. I too would like to speak out in favor of appointing the town clerk. I think it is time for Millis to move forward like other towns in the Metro West area that surround us. Kathy kind of stole my thunder. She said a lot of what I wanted to say. I have not been voting since 1975 in Millis, but I do respect the history of the town, and I think we have been very, very lucky that we have had town clerks that have stayed in the position. But the reality is that we could be having a new town clerk every election cycle. To put it in layman's terms, this is a really big deal, elections, whether it be federal elections or town elections, and do we really want to be switching our town clerks with every election cycle? That is a possibility. It has not happened, but it is a possibility that it could happen. By having an appointed town clerk, it will give us the continuality and the consistency that we need to run fair elections in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sue Vara, 115 Forest Road. I have been working at the town clerk's office now for 7.5 years. I did work with the elected official at the time, and her unexpected retirement came across in August. We were left with 2 major elections and also the town meeting in the fall. We organized or helped to organize this town meeting, and we do have the election coming up on Monday, which if this does pass here tonight, it also has to pass at the election as well. So you're gonna see Kathy's name running for town clerk because that is the 1-year position that the previous town clerk retired from. So that needs to be fulfilled one way or the other. We're not sure if it gets appointed tonight, then it needs to get appointed at the ballot, and the town clerk position will then be an appointed position, and she won't have to run again in 2026. If it does not pass tonight or at the ballot, she will have to run again in 2026, and there have been numerous changes within the 7 years that I've been in that office. From 2020 on, things have changed drastically. We used to have maybe 50 ballots to mail out. Now we have 3,500 sometimes to mail out and keep track of and have them come and go. So I think having somebody in there who has experience, has a knowledge, is keeping up with all the latest education and trends that are happening. And also, if the town clerk is the head of the elections, I think that can be a little, what's the right word? I don't want to say nefarious, but it could be perceived, yeah, thank you, conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything new? Ms. Harden? Anything new?
Lisa Harden.
Dad?
Yes, I didn't really want to get into personalities. I was the town clerk. I hired both of these people, and I was very part-time. I wasn't given any hours. I was paid first $5,000 a year, and then, wow, I got moved up to $12,000. And I was expected to be there full-time. Well, obviously, that was not going to happen. I am not opposed. I said I was in favor of a full-time town clerk. There's nothing that prevents the select board from paying a town clerk for a full-time position right now. A lot of the surrounding towns, well, all of the current towns in Massachusetts, except Millis, that have a full-time town clerk elected are paid a full-time salary. There's absolutely no reason why you have to appoint the person in order to pay them. So there's that argument, but also the way it's written, there's nothing here that says they're even going to make the person full-time. So,
thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Moderator, Jim Angelo, just a couple of points. You can have a salaried, elected town clerk with hours. I mean, keep on making the point that, oh, you'll have hours, and, I mean, the only reason we don't pay the town clerk is the selectmen have decided not to. And for consistency, the only consistency with an appointed town clerk is that she gets 2 votes, or he gets 2 votes, from the selectmen every 3 years. If you want consistency, leave it up to the voters. The voters should be able to make a choice for the town clerk and protect the elections.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Schultz.
Yeah, just to address a few things that I've heard. First off, this will be a full-time appointed position. This is not, if this passes. It doesn't spell it out in here, but that is clearly an intent, and it doesn't spell out many of the other positions' details in the town rule charter, home rule charter. It's the intent, it's what's going to happen. There'll be an election on Monday. That would finalize it, and 30 days later, we start interviewing, we look at resumes, we select somebody, and we appoint them. That means hire them in town meeting world. I don't know why we call it appoint. But anyway, we hire that person. That person's not going to have to be reappointed every 3 years. They're hired until they're either let go or resign. And we have very little control over what the town clerk can do. I'll tell you the problems I had, though. When I pulled papers last time, I went to the town clerk's office 3 times after they said it's time to pull papers. And they didn't have any papers, and there was no town clerk. So an appointed town clerk allows you to have professionalism in the office. Full-time, somebody there when they say they're going to be there. I don't mind coming back because I like Kathy. And we talked a few times, but I finally got my nomination papers. But it took 3 tries. So let's not talk about integrity of elections being protected by an elected town clerk. It's ridiculous what we've gone through with issues like that. A professional, full-time, hired town clerk will give us what we need to run that office.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Megan Kelo, 260 Plain Street, and I did have to think for a second about my address. I'm on a number of boards in a lot of institutions and around town, and what I know being on those boards and these volunteer things, we're all very busy people. So when we have an opportunity to hire someone to do admin type work or to do something we can't get to all the time, we do. This is not like the idea of staffing an office through hiring is efficient, and we're all about efficiency in government these days. And we've never had anybody like rushing to be in this position. It has been a one person running for this office for the 15 years I've lived here. It's not like people are running to the papers to fill this seat. So maybe there's somebody who actually enjoys this type of work who would apply for it, but not somebody who would run for it because they have a job, they have children, they're trying to keep all of their other plates spinning. So it seems like an efficient choice to move our government along and to keep everything bumping along smoothly.
Thank you.
Two new issues.
I just want to be clear with you.
I know.
Okay?
I
Third
understand.
time.
Not just
charm of
talking
my
about
discretion.
anything I did before.
I want to be quick. Go ahead.
The ballot, I have not seen the town election ballot. Is the question on it?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
On Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then theoretically, this would all happen July 1st or something, or close? Yes. Right, okay. My other comment is just that if the town clerk's elected, they have to be a Millis resident, which I personally think is very important. And if they're appointed, they don't have to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I want to wrap it up a little bit. The history of the town clerk is correct. Every town clerk was elected at one time, along with every treasurer. But over the years, towns have realized it doesn't work. It doesn't work for a lot of reasons. So now it's about half and half. And no town that has gone from elected to appointed has gone back. Back in the old days, in the middle, I mean, the town clerk is the oldest position in the history of the world. Yes, they lived in town because the office was in their kitchen. So they were the record keeper, right? They recorded deaths, births, deeds, and they handled the elections. Nowadays, slightly different. We drive now, so you can go from another town. And the requirement is, I mean, mind-numbing. The present-day town clerk position is a highly technical, complex position. The statewide Town Clerks Association cites 37 separate chapters and 451 sections of the Mass General Laws that they need to be familiar with. This does not include each specific town's bylaws, charters, and special acts. Many of the filings have strict deadlines. So you miss it, you're out. There's complex record keeping. They train, recruit, and schedule election workers. Such highly technical positions cannot be by elections. The second to the last speaker said, hardly anybody runs nowadays. You get a very small pool, and they have to come from Millis. Not that we don't have the best and the brightest, but it's an election. What you see is what I tell you. Hell, you elected me. You bought everything I told you. And now you want to see if I'm doing a good job? Well, you can tell if I agree with you because you can turn on a select board meeting and you can see because we make policy. If you don't believe with the policy I'm going with, vote me out. None of you are in the town clerk's office making sure that the town clerk has put something in on time, a records request has been on time. We've been in trouble a lot because of these mistakes and oversights. So I read a very good thing. Election to town office or any office does not necessarily require experience. It doesn't even require intelligence. I thought that was brilliant. So, I mean, listen, I ran. So when you say they report to the electorate, every 3 years, you may get
30 seconds.
You may get a new town clerk. You're off and running. There's no time to learn this on the job. It's a very, very highly technical position. Again, they don't forge public policy. 95% is statutory. They should be monitored the way any other department head is, which is by the town administrator or the select board through the town administrator.
You're gonna have to wrap it
And
up.
I've said this I'm wrapping it, a million times. This teeny tiny town, we all wear a million hats. We have to work together. If you are ever in this town hall, it's like a choreographed
Thank you.
dance with people going
Thank you.
from
Yes, sir.
position to learn. We need one that
Thank you.
cooperates and is accountable. Sorry for this.
Yes, sir.
Edward Ginn, 24 Glen Ellen Boulevard. I think we're mixing issues here. Apparently, there's some concern that the town clerk's office is not performing like it should. It would seem to me that they're not being paid the right salary. And if they were paid the right salary, maybe you would have better performance. Personally, I've had no problem with the town clerk's office. And I still think my soul tells me, keep it as an elected position, pay them the money that they're due. And then you wouldn't have this conceived problem.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
Mark Robbins, is this working? Mark Robbins, 58 Walnut. I hope this isn't a redundant question. I've been trying to listen and get all this, but if I heard Lisa right, Lisa Harden, the position before, when it was elected, was $12,000 a year. If that's the case, for the amount of work that goes into being a town clerk, I think that's way underpaid. So my question is, if we keep it elected, does that preclude it from being a full-time paid position? And if it goes to be appointed or I guess that's the word they want to use, appointed, but it's more of a vetting process than just being appointed. But does that allow it to become a full-time paid position? So that's my question. And that will enable, I think, many of us in here to decide whether to keep it elected or to be appointed, because the pay at $12,000 a year is not going to get the quality that the position requires. Thank you.
Mr. Schultz?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The position, an elected position, is supervised by the voters every 3 years. There's nobody saying you have to be in the office a certain amount of time, certain number of hours, or any of that. If we move that to a full-time position with full-time pay, call it $85,000, I'll run. You'll never see me in the town clerk's office. But you can't do anything about it for 3 years because it's elected, so there's nobody supervising me. We need a full-time appointed position who is supervised, paid a full-time salary, and in charge of running it. Because if we move it to a full-time, right now we haven't had a lot of people run. But the minute you move that salary up and say there is no hours requirement, a lot of us would run. A lot.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator,
Anything
can we
you'd add?
move the question?
Oh, thanks.
Moderator, I move the question
Can we move the
also.
question?
A motion's been made to move the question. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. This is just to move the question. So we're going to vote on it and discussion. All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. All's opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Let's go. So a yes vote will change the clerk's position from elected to appointed. With that said, there's also be an election on Monday. That's be approved by the voters also. Yes, and it's a 2/3.
Is this 2/3?
This is 2/3.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All's opposed? No. I'm going to, it's a very important decision. I'm going to call for, I need to determine one more time. All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. All's opposed? No. I'm going to do a request a standing vote.
People are walking out.
Okay.
Maybe. Maybe nobody wins. Maybe it's a push.
The conclave. There'll be smoke coming out of the flag.
Next are up. We got to get this going. Really?
Did you take anything?
Down to the bench.
Just so you know, so questions aren't brought up, the count is going to be done by the tellers who are under the clerk, but the clerk is not doing it. It's going to be overseen by Nate Maltinsky, who is the town constable. So the clerk, the acting clerk, is not part of this vote. So all those in favor, please rise and remain standing.
Definitely tell me if I sing. And you know what's so funny is it was in my head and I just went to my feet and I didn't. Well, that's again. People think conspiracy theories with this, conspiracy theories with this. I was thinking like the little tiny Spencer. Thinking about the yeah, that's the same thing. We need to take it out just in case. I haven't found anything about finance that second. I have like 2 point something. Never work again.
Thank you. Please be seated. Unless you're voting no, you can please rise now. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I know, the amount of money that they get is disgusting.
I'm trying to explain to
Yeah.
congratulations.
Exactly.
COO.
So stupid.
Not judging what you do, it's just my, I don't know.
No, no, I know.
I mean,
There's a lot of paid positions that to like on the planet.
yeah, that doesn't work. I listen to enough sports radio. Other people
Yeah.
do like 5 minutes. I don't have to go. I read about that. That was crazy.
I swear to God, not that he has dementia or anything, but it really sure seems like she's a
All right. Yeah. I think we got this.
And I think
Thank you. All be seated. So the motion carries 147 to 13. Thank you for your patience.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to amend Article 5 of the town's general bylaws by adding Section 31 as follows. Tri-Board Committee. There shall be a permanent Tri-Board Committee which shall be comprised of the Select Board, the School Committee, and the Finance Committee. The Tri-Board shall serve in an advisory capacity and shall meet at least 4 times per year to discuss the financial and operational status of the town, to plan and prepare for the future year's operational and capital budgets, to address short and long-term planning efforts, and to focus on the other areas of concern as may be related to the effective operation of municipal and school services. The FinCom voted in favor of Article 14.
Second.
Motion made second for discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
This article, if approved, would amend the town general bylaws by establishing a permanent tri-board committee and require that it meet at least 4 times per year. The town has in recent years occasionally held so-called tri-board meetings between the Select Board, School Committee, and Finance Committee. Am I missing something out there? The 3 boards have found these meetings to be beneficial to assist in operational and budget planning, both short and long term, and to focus on major areas of concern that confront all 3 boards. Because of this, it was determined that a tri-board committee be established and it should meet with regularity.
Thank you.
is a,
I ask you to please
simple
be
majority.
quiet in the background. Thank you. Yes, sir. This is a simple majority. Is there any further discussion on this article? Yes, sir.
Jim Angelo, are these public meetings?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, they would
Yes,
be.
they are public meetings.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 15.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town vote to transfer the care, custody, management, and control of the town-owned properties. Really?
To the microphone.
You can't get it, it's not on.
It's on now.
Okay, now it is. I move that the town vote to transfer the care, custody, management, and control of the town-owned properties listed in Article 15 from the Select Board for general municipal purposes to Select Board for disposition.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, ma'am.
The Select Board and the administrative staff had continued the examination reviewing of the various parcels of town-owned lands. The map shows these parcels. That's what, I believe you have got access to this map. These parcels have been determined to not have any future potential use for the town. Many of these parcels are very small, landlocked, unbuildable, and for a variety of reasons are unsustainable for any municipal use. Parcels that have been so identified should be declared as surplus and should be disposed of whenever possible in order to put those properties back on the tax rolls. Usually, these properties are purchased by abutters who would like to expand the size of their properties. If this article is approved, the parcel will be put up for sale or auction in accordance to the state law to get the widest net. The Finance Committee recommends this article, 7 for, 1 against, and 1 abstained. This was submitted by the Select Board. Must pass by a 2/3 vote.
Any further discussion? All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. All's opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town vote to amend the Millis zoning bylaws as most recently amended by amending Section 11, Special Flood Hazard District, Section 2 definitions, and to amend other related provisions of the zoning bylaw, all as printed in the warrant, in order to become in compliance with the FEMA flood insurance rate maps firms, and to amend the Millis zoning map accordingly.
Motion made.
This was submitted by the planning board, and it requires a 2/3 vote.
Second.
Second.
Motion made second.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
this article is designed to enhance the town's resilience against flood hazards by amending our bylaws to comply with the new regulations from 2023 by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and incorporating the National Flood Insurance Program rate maps into our zoning maps. The proposed amendments include changes in the delineation of the flood zones, revised construction standards for both new buildings and substantial improvements, and updated criteria for the management of floodplain development. The Finance Committee unanimously recommends approval of this article.
Any further discussions? This is a 2/3 majority vote. All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, I declared it 2/3 vote in favor.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town vote to amend the Millis zoning bylaws as most recently amended by replacing the definition of accessory family unit with accessory dwelling unit, deleting section X11 III.0 accessory family unit, and by adding a new section with respect to accessory dwelling units and revising Table 1 use regulations as written in the warrant. This was submitted by the planning board and requires a simple majority.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Second.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
in August of 2024, the governor signed the Affordable Homes Act into law, which amends the zoning act to allow accessory dwelling units up to 900 square feet to be built by right in single-family zoning districts, regardless of the existing zoning bylaws that may exist in individual municipalities. Our existing bylaws allow for accessory family units by special permit that can only be occupied by family members. And these bylaws violate the new ADU regulations. The proposed bylaw amendment would bring our zoning bylaws into conformity with the state zoning act. It would also provide additional oversight by the planning board and put in place local zoning restrictions for use, setbacks, parking, etc. for the ADUs. Without this bylaw, ADUs would be allowed by right throughout Millis without these restrictions. The Finance Committee voted this evening prior to town meeting to recommend approval of this article, but we were not unanimous. The vote was 5-4.
Thank you. Any further discussions?
Yeah, Richard Nichols, 47 Grove Street, Millis. This article was put in place because, as Jody said, that if we don't have anything, it can be put
Mr. Nichols?
anywhere.
Are you speaking for yourself or the planning board?
I'm speaking for myself.
Thank
That's
you.
why I put
I just
my
want to
name in.
clarify.
Yeah, I didn't say anything other than
I
my
know.
name.
But people think. you
Yes,
know.
I understand that.
Thank you.
So anyhow, this was put in place to make sure that we had something to cover the town. These were basically taken from a suggestion from town council that what was being done in throughout the state. So basically, this is something that they're doing across the board, and the planning board had put that forwards as such. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Jen Zaretsky, 140 Causeway Street. I'd like to propose an amendment to the bylaw. It would be to strike section 2A3 saying they could not be used as short-term rentals. Reason being that I think it's not required by the state law to do that, and it would allow people who build the ADUs to have greater flexibility.
I just need, so your motion,
Oh, yeah.
you have it written down?
Yeah, I do.
Can I get a copy of that?
Okay, thank you.
So all you want to do is strike under section 2, part A, number 3.
Yep.
The requirement for 31 days or less.
Right, the requirement that it had to be 31 days or more, rented for 31 days or more, yeah.
And I did hear a second. Okay, motion been made and second. Is there further discussion on the motion as made?
I'm in favor of the motion. Is that where we're at?
Yep.
Yeah. Megan, Kilo 260 Plain Street. I'm in favor of the motion because I think that having access to ADUs for helping our in-laws is great, but when they move on, for whatever reason, out of the ADU, being required to only recoup financially through long-term rentals is very limiting and restricting. I also think that having ADUs in our town with our neighbors is good for our town, because when we have family that come and visit us for a weekend for graduation, being able to reach out to friends to rent their ADUs for cousins, for graduations, for other family events, that's the big town, small town, big family situation. And we have a lot of our family that's in California and Massachusetts, and New York. So being able to tap into that is helpful. And I think it's not something that you get to say, no, this is how you get to use your property quite so restrictively. I don't see how it negatively impacts the town at all to have short-term rental on the few properties that are going to be able to afford to make that happen anyway.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yes, sir.
Sushil Prem, 30 Acorn Street. As I understand, right now, we have AFU in the books, which allows you can expand up to 50% of whatever the existing square footage is. And the ADU will limit it to only 900 or 50% or 900, whichever is less. That's the new ADU. So I'm going to suggest Millis has both on the books. You know, if ADU is there,
Sir?
whoever
Sir?
allows.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, I really appreciate your comments, but what we're talking about specifically right now is if ADU's in place in whatever form, it can be used as a short-term rental. That's
Right.
the only thing we're discussing. So please state your thoughts.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So the AFU still will be on the books?
However it goes on the books, we're just talking about short-term rentals.
Okay.
Less than 30 days. That's all we're talking about. That's a
Okay.
motion.
I was confused. I was thinking the AFU will be eliminated and instead ADU will.
We'll probably discuss that in a minute.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Nicole Riley, Village Street. Mr. Moderator, for transparency, I am also on the planning board, but I'm speaking as a resident. The purpose of this bylaw is to allow Millis to have the ability to oversee ADUs as granted by the state. This bylaw is not meant to address short-term rentals. If we eliminate this paragraph, which is specifically allowed, we are allowed under the state regulations to prohibit short-term rentals on ADUs. If we pass this motion to amend, we are in effect putting the cart before the horse. If Millis, as a town, wants to address short-term rentals, then we should do so by establishing a short-term rental ordinance, as many towns in the Commonwealth have done so. Quincy, Lexington, Somerville, Revere, Medford, not just Cape Cod and vacation towns. There are various towns throughout the Commonwealth who have addressed short-term rentals by making them permitted, placing in requirements for nuisances so that if short-term rentals have nuisances, the police in the town have some control. If the town then adopts a short-term rental ordinance, we can go back and make ADUs, if the town decides at that process, allow them to be rented as short-term rentals under our ordinance. But by allowing ADUs to be short-term rentals with no control, there is a big difference where some of our properties in Millis have 200 acres farmland versus properties, say, on Irving Street, where they're 800 square foot properties, and the neighbors are literally 30 feet apart. And if you have a short-term rental and you have tenants you have people that are changing over every 2 or 3 days, that's affecting a neighborhood very differently than when you've got multiple acres and you're not seeing them. So I have nothing against short-term rentals, but I believe an ADU, which is 900, under the state law, was 900 square feet or less, is going to be much more attractive in a town like Millis for short-term rentals than, say, short-term rentals of a 3 or 4 family
You have 1
home.
minute.
So that's why we don't have a lot of them. If we want to include short-term rentals as ADUs, let's set the regulations for short-term rentals in its own bylaw, and then we can come back and allow the ADUs to apply to those.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Carolyn McNiff, 31 Timberline Road. I too am against this amendment. For the reasons stated earlier, I'll be very brief, but it's its own issue. And you do affect and change the neighborhood if you have a constant churning of an Airbnb from an in-law apartment.
Thank you. Anything new?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think both of the previous speakers have made the point for the amendment. The right way to do it is through a separate ordinance. This is a categorical ban. This is putting the cart before the horse.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Nathan Maltinsky, 431 Exchange. Could I get town council to read the general law 64G? That's in section A, number 3. Read the verbiage on the law. The definition.
I'm not sure where it's written right here.
General law.
It's our own bylaw.
Yeah, I'm not following the question.
How does the general law read?
This is our bylaw. He thinks this is the one in the paragraph. 64G, paragraph 1.
Hey, why don't you come up here? I want to answer your questions. I'm not sure what the question is.
That's just a reference to a place in Massachusetts law where the term short-term rental is defined. So that's just referencing. I could Google it. What does 64G say? That's on. Yeah, sure.
So he's requesting we look up the state definition of a short-term rental.
31 days or less.
So we have to Google it.
It's defined, it's right here.
Because you're saying suggest, defined, and subject. They want to be.
Yeah. Shorter than 31 days. No thanks. Row, row, row your boat no.
So the question is to explain the statutory reference in the proposed bylaw text
There's a state statute that's referenced. That state statute sets forth several definitions. One of those definitions is short-term rental, which is defined as an owner-occupied, tenant-occupied, or non-owner-occupied property, including but not limited to an apartment, house, cottage, condominium, or a furnished accommodation that is not a hotel, motel, lodging house, or bed and breakfast establishment where at least one room or unit is rented to an occupant or sub-occupant, and 2, all accommodations are reserved in advance, provided, however, that a private owner-occupied property shall be considered a single unit if leased or rented as such.
It doesn't say anything.
Is there any further discussion
Yeah, Brutus?
on the motion?
Brutus?
Yes.
Yes. I want to point out, first of all, isn't it 31 days or less? It's right in the statute. So a short-term rental is less than 31 days. I don't know how hard that is, but okay. I find it interesting that the statute that was put forth by the state, typically when they put forth something, whether it be unfunded or not, they give it to the town and they say, let the chips slide, you figure it out, town. And they don't really kick it down the road very far. They leave us holding the bag. But this one, I feel as if they deliberated a little bit, because they gave, in the statute, they gave towns 4 ways to restrict. And one of them was to ban short-term rentals. Another one was to consider setbacks. And that's huge for me, because if the state figured out that that could be a problem, it could be a problem, because they don't typically look that far ahead. That's the first red flag. The second one is, in our teeny tiny town of Millis, most of the zoning is 15,000 square feet. That's 1/3 of an acre. So you have 1/3 of an acre, and you're right next to each other, and somebody puts one up, and you have cars coming back and forth. Zoning doesn't just help the applicant who comes and asks for something. Zoning also protects the abutters. That's why you get notice, and you get to go and you get to say something. But this is by right. So you will not get an abutter's notice. This building will go up. If we don't put something on the books, you will get no notice. You'll have no say at all. And listen, you want somebody in your 15,000 square foot coming up and down, a new person every other week, okay, but we're trying, I believe that the planning board, not for nothing, they worked on this for months. They got the opinion from town council that thought it was a good idea. They held a public hearing, which I was at, and they voted it. So I think we follow their lead.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Anything new to add?
To Ellen's point, with regards to the public hearing was on the amendment as it is presented, which means anyone that had any interest with regards to for or against a short-term rental would not have been present at that public hearing, because it was not an issue. So if you remove that provision now, you in effect have eliminated anyone else in town who is not in this room this evening from attending a public hearing and being able to voice their comments and concerns on short-term rentals, because they've not been given any notice since the motion just came up 5 minutes ago.
That's the beauty of town meeting. You can change meetings after meetings. Town meeting's all powerful. So with that said, is there any other discussion on the motion to eliminate under section 2A3, the ADUs short-term, be used as short-term less than 31 days?
I know. Same thing.
It's a motion, sure, it's a motion to the amendment, basically saying we're removing one part of that. So the one part that we're gonna remove is basically ADUs can't be used for short-term rentals under 31 days. that's a yes, we're getting rid of that, okay? If we say no, it stays in there, okay? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
That's not two-thirds. Motion carries.
No.
I mean, motion doesn't carry. Thank you. Motion amendment fails. That's the right word. So you see now, is there any more discussion on the motion presented? The article, motion. A yes vote means it will change. You have discussion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, again, Sushil Prem, 30 Acorn Street, the dimensional, item B, dimensional requirements. I propose that, we, instead of 900 square feet or 50%, whichever is less, I propose we remove the 900 square feet and keep, 50% or less. Just, that's my proposal, the amendment. Because I think if there are some
Before we have a
properties
discussion-
which are larger in
Excuse me.
size.
Before your discussion, do you want to make a new motion to amend? You
Yes.
want to get rid of the 900 feet?
Yes.
Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Do you have that written down?
It is 50% or less, you don't restrict
No,
it.
I just want, you want to get rid of 900 square feet total? That's what
Yes,
you're asking,
yes.
the way it's written. Is there a second to that?
No, because it's for the state. They want the-
I do need it written down.
What? Yes, Brutus? Brutus, this bylaw is by statute from the state. You cannot amend a statute from the state. You
We just
cannot.
did. Well, we're going to take a vote on it.
Well,
You
you-
have to write
No, you
it down.
can't.
But you can't. It's,
Okay.
It's state law.
it can't be, listen, the state.
Excuse me. Town council just confirmed what you said.
Thank
We do not have the authority to overrule the state law. So I can't accept your motion.
Millis on the books have a AFU which says it doesn't have 900. AFU say you can extend it as 50% of your property size. So you have that on your books already. You still can have this and that. By having both on the books, you are going to have a win-win situation. Whichever properties which are big enough and you want to expand can expand up to 50%, and it is win-win for the town of Millis. You'll get extra tax money, as well as you'll have both the options. You are
Thank
now
you.
limiting the option by only following the ADU.
Thank you.
The ADU statute is replacing the AFU.
I
They
understand.
conflict. So we needed to pick one, and because the state is mandating the ADU, we picked the ADU. The AFU will no longer exist
Why
if this
can't you have
passes.
both?
Because they conflict. They conflict
They may
in
not
their.
conflict, they may actually be
Nope.
in addition
Nope.
to each other. They may complement each other.
We were told by town council that they conflict, you can't have two on the books. And I'm noticing with other towns, there are not two on the books.
Anyway, that's my proposal.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Harden, 56 Walnut. I just have a question about currently existing accessory family units for in-laws. If they're already existing and they're more than the 900 square feet, are they grandfathered? What happens to them? Do they have to tear them down?
Town council says yes, if they're over.
They're
If they're
grandfathered?
pre-existing, non-conforming. Yes, ma'am.
So as I understand the motion that we currently have, right, it's asking the town to vote on whether we're going to amend our current zoning bylaws, right? So the current zoning bylaws allow for accessory family units. That is what is currently on the books. So here, we are asking to have a vote by our town on whether we want to keep that or we move to this new definition with the state statute. If there is no option for us to vote and to actually, that we have to go with the state statute, then why are we even having this discussion?
We're not.
Because we have to change our bylaws in accordance with the state laws, just like we did with our flood zones and other things. The state mandates it, and therefore we have to change our laws to conform with the state laws. And that's what they're doing here, and they're adding a few extra provisions that the state does allow, such as banning short-term rentals, parking provisions, and things of that nature.
And so that's exactly what we are trying to ask here too. So we can go with the rest of the bylaws here. We're trying to have a motion that for the dimensional requirements that we can sort of keep.
That is not one of the provisions that the state allows the local bylaws to change.
Okay, okay, understood.
Yes, Nicole.
We asked this, the planning board actually asked the exact same question of town council in our discussions with him. And we were advised by town council that the accessory family unit bylaw that we currently have on the books, currently it cannot be enforced. It is in violation of state law once this new ADU bylaw was passed by the state. So we can't have, it's unenforceable. The family dwelling unit that we have, you can't have anymore. It violates state law under this new regulation. If we don't pass this at all, we will still have an ADUs, will still be by right in all residential neighborhoods. We can do nothing. What this does is just clarifies our bylaws so that they actually are in compliance with the state law by removing the accessory family unit, which is no longer, we can't enforce, off of our books. And two, it allows the town the site plan review, which is what the state statute allowed us to do. It says you can't prohibit, but we'll let you kind of govern these few things. And so that's what we've done with this, is say, okay, we're gonna govern these few things. We're gonna require setbacks to conform. We're gonna require the architecture to conform. But we can't, even if we left the accessory family unit on our books, they're not enforceable anymore.
So what happens for people who already have built something like that?
That's what's called a pre-existing non-conforming unit. So it is grandfathered in. You can use it as such, but if you stop using it at some point in time, you can't build new ones like that.
Right.
But you can't have it taken away from you once it's there.
Okay, so if I understand, there's certain aspects that we can change, but certain ones that
It's
we
gotta go
cannot,
through me.
that we cannot change, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Shannon Graham, 8 Himmel Farm. So just to clarify, so I'm thinking of building an ADU in my backyard to stick my husband in. It's 900 square feet. Right now, right? I'm sure there's plenty of other people here who want to do the same. Maybe after tonight, Wendy might want to too, Brutus. But anyway, so right now, without this, I can go by the state rules and go ahead and build that, correct?
Excuse me.
Yes?
You'd like to answer?
Right?
Yes.
So nothing right now is stopping me from doing that. So other than, if this passes, then I have to follow the restrictions. And it might take me longer to get my husband in there. So thank you for the clarification.
For the record, some husbands do want their own ADU. Is there any more discussion?
No.
Simple majority on this one. Go figure.
It says 2/3.
No, it's simple majority.
It says simple.
Oh, they changed it.
Simple, simple, simple.
It's simple majority.
Yes.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $40,736.55 to the Unemployment Insurance Fund. This was submitted by the Select Board and requires a simple majority vote.
Second. Motion made second. Further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
this article is authorizing the town to transfer the sum of $40,736.55 to the Unemployment Insurance Fund account. The town is self-insured and therefore must set aside funds in a special account to pay out for unemployment. This is replenishing the funds into this account. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to approve this motion.
Any further discussion? All's in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $300,000 to the MGL Chapter 41, Section 111F Injury Leave Indemnity Fund. This article was submitted by the Select Board and it requires a simple majority.
Second.
Motion made second. Further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
this article is authorizing the town to transfer the sum of $300,000 into the MGL Chapter 41, Section 111F Injury Leave Indemnity Fund for the purpose of paying police officers and firefighters who have sustained injuries in the performance of their duty during the period of the injury leave who have met the insurance threshold instead of appropriating these funds from the respectable department budget. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to approve this motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $50,000 to other post-employment benefits fund, OPEB, submitted by the Select Board, which requires a simple majority vote.
Second.
Motion made second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir.
OPEB are retiree benefits other than pension benefits and include primarily health care insurance. Municipalities are required to provide these benefits and contribute at least 50% of the cost of premiums. OPEB are intended to be funded via a town-funded trust fund. However, the costs of doing so are in the millions of dollars. Most towns, like Millis, do not have enough funds in trust to fully fund their obligations. Current obligations are funded within the operating budget. It is a smart fiscal policy for the town to periodically add its OPEB fund to its OPEB fund because it's viewed favorably when establishing our bond rating. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $100,000 to the stabilization fund. This was submitted by the Select Board and requires a simple majority.
Is there a second. Motion's been seconded.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, ma'am.
the town of Millis has adopted a policy to maintain a stabilization fund equal to 5% of its annual general fund budget expenditures to be used only for unseen and emergency purposes. This article would transfer $100,000 from free cash to the stabilization fund, which will put the fund at about 6% and around $500,000 over our 5% goal. This will help the town's bond rating when we need to borrow funds and also allow an extra cushion for extraordinary expenses for future town meetings. The Finance Committee unanimously recommends approval of this article.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Could you give the town an update on what our stabilization fund is at now rate? What we have in there?
It is $2.857 million
Great, thank you.
as of March 31st, 2025.
Thank you. All's in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Second.
There's a motion made to adjourn. It's been seconded. Before I take a vote, I just want to thank you for your patience tonight and the confusion. I really appreciate it. And have a great year. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.